I'm sure that game will be played over and over again because it was absolute carnage.
Hello and welcome to the YYC Soccer Podcast. My name is Jason Komet and my co-host is Scott Strasser. Hey, Scott.
Hey, Jason.
We last saw each other about an hour ago at the Cavalry match at Spruce Meadows. That was crazy, wasn't it?
Pick your adjective. Honestly, I mean, this match that we just watched between Cavalry and Vancouver FC, we're going to spend a lot of time this episode talking about it. There's a lot to go over, but what a story. It's one of those ones where Hollywood would reject that script for being too unrealistic.
Yeah, totally. I actually feel a bit of pressure, and by the time everyone's listening to this, I guess they'll know the answer, but the pressure to come up with a good title for this episode is intense because there could be about a million good ones. We were even talking about some of this stuff at the match.
Yeah, I mean, I like how Tommy Wheeldon Jr. described the match as absolute carnage. I think that is a pretty apt description of this game. We haven't even mentioned it was a 5-4 win for Cavalry over Vancouver, with 3 goals coming in the last 8 or so minutes, including stoppage time. A disallowed free kick goal, a missed penalty from Tobias Warshevsky. So many storylines, but the main one we really got to talk about is the man of the hour, Daan Klomp, scoring the winner with a trademark header off the post in the 97th minute.
Yeah, it's pretty fantastic. Quite a remarkable entrance into the game. He entered the match, I think it was about the 61st, 62nd minute, but prior to that, the fans in the stands were chanting Daan Klomp, and they brought him out. And yeah, he, looked kind of like you would expect him to look in that match, doing his Daan Klomp things. And then, yeah, right at the end, trademark Daan Klomp, Mr. Clutch. That's sort of the thing. When you need a big moment, he seems to provide it.
It's so cool that it was him because so much was made of his return to Cavalry and his return to the CPL. Last week, we spent about 13 minutes of our 25-minute episode talking specifically about Daan Klomp and what he will bring to this team, both defensively and offensively. And it's like he hasn't missed a beat. He's barely played since last November, only a couple of appearances for that club in Belgium, but he came back to Canada, slotted in with half an hour to play, and in a super tense environment with goals flying in at both sides of the pitch, he steps up and gets it done with almost the last, can't really call it kick of the ball, but because it was a header, but yeah, scoring in such late dramatic fashion. And I mean, he was the obvious choice for the post-game press conference, and he described it as a fairy tale return. So what more can you really say?
Yeah, he was even I think a little bit emotional and about the whole thing. And it was like, why, how couldn't you be, I guess. It was a big moment. And from his perspective, it must have just been crazy. So.
But I mean, obviously he's the headline maker in this match, but there's so much to talk about. I was kind of taking notes throughout the game. We can mention Gauthier Natigny scoring his first goal since returning from France. Tobias Warshevsky ending his goalless run, which it started, believe it or not, back in May. Michael Baldissimo getting on the score sheet for the first time in a Cavalry shirt with a really nicely worked goal off of a set piece. I mean, what else do we want to talk about? Because, we mentioned that Daan Klomp is the man of the hour, but it's such an exciting game. And it's one of those games where no matter how long we talk about it, we're probably going to leave something out.
The next topic I want to talk about in that match was Gauthier Natigny. Played great. He scored, but, I'm very impressed and very honestly surprised. He has come back to this team, and, we talk about Daan Klomp not missing a beat and scoring here, but Gauthier Natigny looks exactly like the Gauthier Natigny from 2 years ago. He is taking on defenders. He's fearless. He strikes fear into the other side. I didn't honestly expect that he would do what he's been doing. I know he's capable of doing what he's been doing, but I didn't expect him to just pick up so quickly. And he had another really good game. I'm glad he got rewarded with a goal.
Yeah, his was actually the first goal, which was in the second minute or something. But he also drew the penalty that Tobias Warshevsky missed in the second half. Although it was a decently taken penalty. It was just a really nice save from Callum Irving, in my opinion. But yeah, Gote Natigny had an excellent performance on the left wing. It was funny, Jason, in stoppage time when Cavalry were up 4-3, there was a moment where Natigny crossed it when he probably should have just went to the corner flag and pulled a Lowell right and shielded it as best as he could. And the coaches and some of his teammates just absolutely lost it at him. And they were screaming that he should have gone to the corner because he took a cross and then Cavalry lost possession. And of course, Vancouver went on to score just a minute or two later. But, apart from that, like Natigny played really well. And yeah, his goal was a bit of a goal mouth scramble off of a corner kick, but that'll do a lot for his confidence to have scored again.
I know the player you're talking about there in stoppage time where he didn't go to the corner. I think you're right. Like the coaches were probably not happy with that. And it all made sense to go to the corner. But I think that also just shows you how brimming with confidence he is, that he probably knew better, but he's like, I'm going to score. I'm going to make a goal happen. That just shows, I think, where his head is at right now.
Yeah. Yeah, this overall, I mean, there's so many positives to take from Cavalry. The only negative is that they conceded 4 goals, which is obviously a lot. But if you think about how good Natigny is playing, the fact that Tobias Warshevsky got the monkey off his back and scored again, and he had a really nicely taken goal, I felt. The fact that Michael Baldissimo scored, the fact that they were able to make so much offense happen. I mean, this could have been a 7-4 game if Ali Musti's free kick goal wasn't chalked off, and if Tobias Warshevsky had scored that penalty, it could have been, an 11-goal match, which is absolutely insane. But let's keep talking about this game, which One Soccer is calling potentially the best CPL game ever.
I'll just throw in the next topic I want to talk about because I loved it so much. Let's talk about that goal Baldissimo scored. I thought that was just an awesome set play. I thoroughly enjoyed it and thought it was quite brilliant.
Yeah, was it a free kick or a corner kick? It was definitely.
I think it was a corner kick.
Yeah, and it was just a low driven ball to the top of the box, and I think most of the players from both teams were in the box, so Baldissimo kind of was unmarked outside of the arc, and he just connected with it really well. And it's really hard to keep those down, but he just kind of side-footed it, and somehow it missed. It went through a sea of a forest of legs and feet and just nestled into the bottom corner. But I was annoyed by Warshevsky because he blocked my view of Baldissimo, so I didn't get a good photo of Baldissimo's shot, but I did get a good photo of him celebrating after.
Kudos to Diego Gutierrez, because on that corner, it looked like it was going to him and it was a dummy. He pretended he was going to take the shot and let it roll right past to Baldissimo. And that was really the part of that play that, him selling that dummy really made the play happen. I watched it on replay and the Vancouver players were not moving. They were just at that point, once the ball kind of went past Gutierrez, they just stood still. And then, Baldissimo just finished it off nicely.
And that goal made it 3-1, and it was still pretty early in the match. I think it was like 25 minutes in, and it was already 3-2 in this game. So it really set up for a goal fest, which we got. And our friend in the press gallery, Salman Banji, he said it's sunshine today, but it's raining goals, which I thought was pretty good.
Yeah, that was good. I could think of more things I want to initiate into the conversation, but Scott, I'll let you go here. What do you want to talk about next?
With regards to this game, I think it's a really big win for Cavalry. They've got 9 games left, so just pretty much one more round of games against every opponent, and they're it's unlikely that they're gonna catch Ottawa in second, but a win today coupled with Ottawa's loss to Forge means that the gap is now 10 points, and they're playing each other pretty soon, Cavalry and Atletico. So, it really sets up for an exciting finish to the regular season. And this win ends what was a 4-game winless run for Cavalry. So, huge boost psychologically. And of course, we talked about how Daan Klomp having him back would provide a big psychological boost, and it certainly feels that way tonight.
Like right now, if I'm the manager of another CPL team, like this has got to be messing with my brain right now because, Daan Klomp coming back, obviously one of the best players in league history. And, you're kind of probably, well, that's not good. That would be your attitude if you were an opposing team CPL manager. But then after seeing what happened today, the huge psychological edge in those kind of mind games, I think right now is in favor of Cavalry.
Yeah, and they're going to Ottawa next weekend, which is not going to be easy, but Atletico coming off of a loss today against Forge. We saw the highlights of that game, and it looked like another really exciting match, but a big statement win from Forge FC. So maybe, I'm excited to keep watching this club and to see how they can rebound from the slump that we've been talking about so much this summer.
Let's just look at the CPL table right now, because I think it's probably just, we've been talking about, where Cavalry stands with Ottawa and Forge, but let's actually break it down. So all teams have currently played 19 games, and Forge has 43 points, Ottawa 39, and then Cavalry is at 29. Yeah, when you think about it, it's a 28 game season and 9 matches to go. So it is a bit of a mountain to climb to crack that top 2 right now, I think.
Especially if you look at Forge and the remarkable stat that 19 games in, they're chasing an invincible season. They have still not lost in 2025.
I can't say that I've been watching all the Forge matches, but geez, like what more can you say about that club? Like that's a remarkable run they're having right now, and kudos to them. But there's still time left in the season. I guess we'll see what ends up happening. But yeah, they're obviously looking very impressive at this point. But Cavalry can't just spend all their time looking above them in the table. The teams below them are not that far away.
No, York is just 3 points back, and Wanderers are tied with York on points. So the top 5, I feel like we know who the 5 playoff teams are going to be. I think it's very unlikely that Pacific is going to catch Halifax, but yeah, you don't want to finish in 4th or 5th. With the way the CPL playoffs are structured, finishing 3rd is a big advantage over finishing 4th, isn't it?
Yeah, because you have that 4v5 game in the middle of the week, and then the winner of that match has to go play the 3rd place team like just a few days later. So the difference between 4 and 5 is not as much as the difference between 3 and 4.
Definitely not.
This is Keelan Stewart. You are listening to YYC Soccer Podcast.
All right, Jason, I finally managed to get out to McMahon Stadium for a Calgary Wild match, my first one in probably over a month and a half. Halifax was back in town. This was a matchup between the 2 bottom teams in the Northern Super League. I was curious to see how Calgary would fare against a team that they have beaten a couple of times this season, and the only opponent that they've actually beaten by more than 1. I was expecting a really strong game from the Wild, and for parts of the game they did play really well, but overall the match was really close. It was a 1-0 win for Calgary, and Halifax definitely had their chances. So this game could have ended 1-1, but Calgary did manage to scrape out a win, which means that they have won their 2 last games.
Yeah, and they haven't won 2 games in a row in their existence so far, which admittedly is a short period of time, but still. I was not able to make it to this game, but I've watched some highlights, and I think I'll just defer to you a little bit on some of this stuff, Scott. But from what I can tell, the Wild are doing a really good job of generating offense. Like that was a real problem a few games back, but it seems like they're getting chances. They're working the ball into the box. They're doing all the things that we said that they needed to start to do. And they got one goal, but overall, I think their overall play has improved quite a bit from what I can perceive.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. And I think we can talk about the new signings having a big role in that. So let's mention that goal quickly. It was Catherine Harvey, who just joined the club about a month ago. It was her first goal for the Wild. It was a back post header that just crept over the line, across from the right from Sarita Thurton. Yeah, I mean, there were definitely a few other chances in the first half. Maggie Doherty-Howard had one quite early on that honestly she should have scored and didn't. But she's another player I would say stuck out. Maggie Doherty-Howard had a really strong game, really used her physicality and her ball playing skills. And another one that I really think is worth mentioning is Jorian Balcom, another newcomer. Jason, she offers something that the Wild have been lacking up until now, which is the ability to hold off defenders, to play with your back to goal and get the ball with a defender on your back. She was excellent at that, playing as that target woman on Saturday.
Yeah, she just fills a role that was previously like nobody on the Wild really could do that. So when you look at how the Wild and how they've been doing offensively, Callie Johnson, who's been struggling with injury, she was the player who had been scoring a good chunk of the Wild's goals, but she is not the big physical presence that Jorian Balcom is. Jorian Balcom is just able to sort of have that physical dominance in the box and just be able to do things that nobody else on the Wild really has the skill set to do.
No, and her, her ability to, that, like I said, have her back to a defender, receive the ball, and then play it off it's such a weapon, especially if you have wingers like Sarita Thurton who can make a run if they see you get the ball like that. So yeah, this was a notable strategy that the Wild were employing, and it did work. And another player they brought on, the new signing that we talked about last episode, Michelle Romero. So she looked pretty good in what was a pretty short cameo. But yeah, things are looking up for the Calgary Wild.
From what I can see, there's a lot of reason for hope that, they're in fifth place out of the playoff picture right now. But really, with the form they've had recently, you can have a reasonable level of hope that they could be moving up and they could get back into that playoff picture. A month ago, I'm not so sure I would have said that, but right now, I think that their form is pretty good.
Yeah, they're 3 points back of Vancouver, who are in fourth, and 5 points back of Montreal, who are in third. Everybody has played 16 games, and it's a 25-game regular season. So same amount of soccer left to be played as Cavalry has in the CPL, and it at least appears that Calgary has started to find their stride after what was a couple of frustrating months, I would say.
Hey guys, Scott Kennedy here, and you're listening to the YYC Soccer Podcast.
All right, before we wrap things up here, let's talk about the Canada Summer Games, because we've tried to do our best to keep track of what's been going on there. On the boys' side, the gold medal match happened on Friday, and Alberta was playing Quebec for the gold.
Yeah, and they did well to tie Quebec in this game, but unfortunately did lose on penalties. But that does get them the silver medal, and that was how it finished in the boys' tournament. But the girls' soccer tournament in the Summer Games starts on Tuesday, and it looks like there are some Calgary connections on the Alberta team for that division as well.
In the girls' division, Alberta's in a group with Saskatchewan and Newfoundland, and their matches will be Tuesday against Saskatchewan and Thursday against Newfoundland. And yes, there are some very familiar faces. I think a couple of them we probably should highlight. Probably the first one I think we want to mention is Clara Monk, who's spent most of the summer with Calgary Wild. Actually, she's going to be on this team.
Yeah, that she's going to be a force to be reckoned with in this tournament, I'm sure. I thought I saw a few other names I recognized. Have we mentioned, for instance, Ali Pizarka before? Did she play in League One?
Yeah, I think so. We have mentioned Ali Pizarka, and then other players on there of note. I know we mentioned Ava Buke at one point. She scored some goals for Rangers in League One Alberta. Also, Kaylin Chiang, she played some matches for Blizzard, and she's actually off to Simon Fraser as soon as this tournament is over. So yeah, there's definitely some familiar names.
Pretty good caliber. I think most of those players would probably be looking at playing university when they're done high school.
Thank you for listening to the YYC Soccer Podcast. You can have this podcast downloaded to your device as soon as it becomes available by subscribing on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or other platforms. Check out our website at yycsoccer.com, where you can look through our episode archive and find other options to listen, including our YouTube channel. We also have links to buy Scott's book. It's called Here Come the Cavalry, and it's all about the history of pro soccer in Calgary. You can leave us a question or comment in the Contact Us section of our website. You can also interact with us on social media such as Twitter or Instagram or Blue Sky, where our username is YYC Soccer 403. Thanks for listening.